go. Oh, does everything work? It does. Does everything work? All right, I need the chat room to tell me if everything is working because they are the last true. Is this the okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. The last true barometers of whether or not this stuff is working. Lighting looks a little bit off. A lot of stuff is off. I had to do a deep vacuuming in here because the dog. The dog had an accident. She doesn't have accidents. She's housebroken. I don't know why this occurred. Not a clue, but she had herself an accident last night and she left a little present. So this morning I was vacuuming up everything, and in order to vacuum properly, I had to disassemble some of the whole studio setup here. And as I discovered, I thought I put everything back together right, but apparently at some point during my vacuuming, I unplugged something that I didn't realize I had unplugged. No chat screen. We got you. Okay, part of my new. There you go. Let's see. Here we go. All right, this should work. Let's see. There it is. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Whole bunch. Everything was closed down. Hi, Frank. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Cam. Byron. And then there's me. Okay. Hope you had a good weekend. We had a crazy weekend. I read my book. You'll hear all about this weekend. We had a interesting weekend. Here's the first thing that I have to notice about today's show as we kick off. It's cold, man. Look at me. I got my blanket for like the first time in 100 days. I'm not just getting crushed by sweat as I sit here doing the show. It's currently 84 degrees here in North Texas. Today is going to be an awesome day. It's going to go up to the early 90s, like 91 it says here it's going to be. But oh my God, tomorrow it's going to rain. Tomorrow it's going to be nasty. No Radio Misfit show tonight because, of course, James and I have our comedy show. We're doing that tonight, so we won't be doing a Radio Misfit show. Okay. What do we do on this show? Well, every day we get together and we talk about all the day's news, the headlines, the hot topics, the trends, current events, whatever it is that people are buzzing about. I bring it to you. I list it for you. I go, okay, first we're talking about this. I tell you why it's making headlines. Then I tell you what people are saying about it. Then I tell you what I'm saying about it. And we do that. We run through everything. And at the end of the show, you should pretty much know everything that people are buzzing about. I'm currently battling hiccups. We go through this from time to time on the show, typically right here at the start when I begin to speak extemporaneously, stream of consciousness style. That's right, 2 hours of me, no breaks, no commercials, no traffic, no songs, no spots, no live interactions, no promotions about coming events, just me blurbing and blabbing for the next 2 hours about all the things that are happening in the world. So let's get started. It is the High Noon Report for September the 11th, 2023. September the 11th is the 254th day in the calendar year. There's 111 more of these left. 111. So get those New Year's Eve plans started. Excuse me. All right. First thing that we do here. We don't give you all the day's headlines right off the bat. What we do is we like to take a 30,000-foot view of all the things that has happened, and we do a little segment that we call Erstwhile on this day. That's right, Erstwhile. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Erstwhile on this day, or previously on September 11th. This is where we take a look back at the history of the day to try and find, rhythms, patterns, all the things that have helped shape what we believe this day to represent. Hiccups, still fighting them. There we go. Oh, they won't. Oh, God, now they're coming full. Oh, here they come. Oh, God. There you go. We're just going to let them happen. I haven't had a hiccup. All right, I'm going to tell you what happened. These things happened. I just showed it to the microphone like I'm an idiot. Oh, God. Okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. All right, so here's what happened. I'm going through some stuff here. So last night, yesterday, it was a football day, and it was a very emotional weekend. We had a lot of stuff we were getting into, heavy, hard stuff. Everything's fine. Don't get it twisted, but we're fine. So yesterday, because I don't really drink alcohol. I don't sit around and drink beer or anything like that. I needed something to take the edge off. So I went and I had a couple of these. See what these are? These are these edible gummies. And I took like 3 of them yesterday. They're legal. They're totally legal here in the state of Texas. Bought them at the vape shop right up there in the corner. And they knocked me on my ass. I just decided for like the early games, I'm like, well, maybe I just have made some iced tea, made some really good iced tea. I'm like, just have some iced tea, eat a gummy, sit here and watch football all day because it's Sunday, damn it. And we got a big week coming up. Got a lot of stuff going on this week. Hiccups are still coming. So anyway, I took too many gummies again because gummies, I hate them. I hate edibles. They take forever to kick in and I'm impatient. And while I'm waiting for them to kick in, I just assume, well, maybe I'm just too strong for it and I need to take more. So then I take more and then the first wave kicks in and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have taken the second batch. I should have just waited for this. And then it never stops. And I slept a long time. And I woke up, and I think it's because of the sugar content in the gummies. I don't eat a lot of sugar. Like, there's not a lot of things with sugar in it that I eat. Because, first of all, I get really bad heartburn with sugar. Like, if I drink a fully leaded Coke, like a Coca-Cola that isn't a Coke Zero, if I drink a regular Coca-Cola, I'll get heartburn. So that's what's going on right now. So I've got a combination of heartburn that I think is caused by these gummies. Yeah, I ate so many gummies that I think they gave me heartburn. Well, I also like ripped through a tub of ice cream last night. So yeah, that's probably also responsible for the sugar. Let's stop blaming the gummies, you fat loser. All right, thank you. Guess what we just did? Through that little story, we just defeated the hiccups. The hiccups are now gone. All right, so let's get into it. Let's do a little erstwhile on this day where we take a look back at all the history that have shaped this event. We look for rhythms and patterns and things that might help us predict what's coming in the next few hours, things that will help us define this very day in the future. On this day in 1609, Henry Hudson arrived in Manhattan Island and meets the indigenous people living there. And they said, how'd you get here, Henry Hudson? And he said, I followed the river that is conveniently named after me. Henry Hudson. Yeah, that's basically the founding of Manhattan on this day. When the first white guy showed up and went, all right, this place has potential. On this day in 1789, Alexander Hamilton is appointed the first United States Secretary of the Treasury and first well-known MC. Founder and inventor of hip-hop, as I believe the story will be remembered. In 1903, the first race at the Milwaukee Mile in West Allis, Wisconsin is held. It's the old JIT. This is a long way to go for an insignificant Midwest racetrack. It's a drag strip that I went to as a kid, and it just happened to pop up in the historic thing, so I thought I'd talk about it, and now it's the one that I can't get through. All right, the Milwaukee Mile opened on this day in 1903. I used to go there when I was very little. I had a friend. His dad was a racer. It was crazy. On this day in 1941, Charles Lindbergh's Des Moines speech occurred. All right, this is Charles Lindbergh. This is where we have to. We don't do this well because humans like absolutes. Humans like black and white. Humans don't like nuance. And, Charles Lindbergh was a complicated man. He was a hero. He got in that plane and he flew across the ocean, so he must be a hero and God's gift to humanity. Everything that he does and thinks must be right, because remember, he got in a plane and flew across an ocean. And he didn't just do it, he did it first. So he's a hero and he's not to be questioned, and everything that he says is perfect because America. Charles Lindbergh gave the Des Moines speech today where he basically said, hey, America ought to join the Nazis. That's what he did. Lindbergh got up and advocated against intervention in World War II, about how Hitler's a good dude. He knows him personally. It's the famous Des Moines speech by Charles Lindbergh that has been lost to history. It happened on this day in 1941. And why has it been lost to history? Because this conflicts with the myth. This conflicts with the mythology of Charles Lindbergh. Remember, his child got kidnapped and the whole country was like, oh, First of all, he's a great man who should never be questioned because he got in a plane and flew across an ocean first. Okay, so first of all that, and then he went through that tragedy with his family, which was a tragedy. So absolutely nobody should have to go through the kidnapping of their child. But people are complicated. There are a lot of bad things. Look, hey, tragic, horrible things happen to bad people all the time. And I'm just saying, Charles Lindbergh was complicated. If you want to see how complicated, find yourself a copy of that 1941 Des Moines speech by Charles Lindbergh. On this day in 1997, the NASA Mars Global Surveyor reached Mars. Did it crash? Was that the one where we first got pictures from Mars? I don't know. This was rated as a fairly significant event. So I'm listing it, but I don't remember this. I don't know. Have we been to Mars yet? No, of course not. Of course, I know we haven't been to Mars yet. We're trying to go, though. Okay, so now on this day in 2001, something happened. This is like the big day, right? So today is, God, what is it? 21? 22, 20. Okay, so it's 22 years since the events of September 11th, 2001. Can do an entire show just talking about that. But I have to say, you know the whole never forget thing? We kind of forgot. This is not a big day. I mean, if you had asked me on September 15th, 2001, okay, 4 days after the events, if you had asked me on September 15th, 2001, how are we going to view September 11th in 20 years? I probably would have gone, everything will stop. It'll be a national day of remembrance. Schools will not be in session. Governments will not be operating. Banks will not be open. You have to, parking, fine, you park for free. It's a parking holiday, all of those things. And it's not. It's just not. It's just kind of something that happened and passage of time. Is that what it is? I mean, there is a generation now. There is a generation of people who are in positions of influence, who influence the culture of the moment, who form the wave that, everybody of the day surfs. These influences, these people, these cultural, some of these people weren't even old enough to really know what was happening on September 11th. So they're not, it just feels like we've kind of gone, that happened. It doesn't, certainly I know that there are a lot of people out there that are still like, never forget. But you know what we certainly did forget about September 11th? And I'll just wrap it up with this. We completely forgot about on how September 11th, September 12th, September 13th, we were one country. We were one group of people. We stopped all of the bullshit. And I wonder if in 2023, if something else of that magnitude were to happen, if there are people in our current political system who have the ability to just drop the bullshit. Hey, the next big thing that I always say is, the aliens show up. As soon as the aliens show up, is that going to make Matt Gaetz and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, whatever hell her name is that going to make them bury the hatchet for a few minutes and go, hey, maybe we should talk about how to deal with the alien? I don't know. But it's certainly the never forget. That seems like a very nice bumper sticker that I still see faded on the backs of really old cars. On this day in 2012, the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi, Libya, is attacked, resulting in 4 deaths. So that also happened on this day. I'll say the other thing about this day, September 11th, I would have thought, especially in the age of terror, I would have thought that it would become a day where a lot of, be a point of, it would be when people would attack us. Like you would think that there would be flare-ups. And I'm not saying anything the size of September 11th, but I'm talking about every September 11th, some loose cannon weirdo, shoots up a target or something. That thankfully, maybe that's another thing. If you just forget about it, it won't become a day for them to attack. Maybe, I don't know. Benghazi happened on this day, but that was like a weird one. That was like 11 years later. It's like, yeah, we're so angry about it 11 years later. Where were you guys for the 10th anniversary? That seems like that would have been the one that you would have really gone, hey, no, 11, Benghazi. But not a whole lot of other things. So that's Good? Good? Yeah, I guess that's good. All right, so that's going to do it for Erstwhile on this day. Now we're going to talk about birthdays. We don't have the rights to music, so I get to sing Buonam, Buonam, Buonam. They claim it's their birthday. Buonam, Buonam, Buona. Okay, I'm going to go with them. I'm going to believe them. On this day in 1913, born unto this plane of existence, the great, the ball coach. Nah, he's not the boy. Is he the ball coach? Isn't that Spurrier? No, Bowden. Wasn't Bowden the old ball? Bear Bryant. It's Bear Bryant's birthday. I don't know what he was. He's an A&M and an Alabama legend. He wore a hat. He wore a Landry hat, but it wasn't the same. Bear Bryant had one that was checkered. Seemed like it was maybe like a Scottish looking Landry hat. I don't know, whatever. Born on this day, 1913, Bear Bryant. Guess who was born on this day in 1924? The aforementioned Tom Landry celebrating a birthday today. That's right, the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. One of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, old Coach Landry. Started with them New York Giants, coaching alongside the likes of, where did he start from? Where was he? What is Tom Landry? Is Tom Landry from the Weeb Eubank tree? I don't know, because I know it was like Landry and Shula. And didn't Landry coach the New York Giants when Lombardi was also coaching there? I don't know. Yeah. All right. There you go. Happy birthday. Both Bear Bryant and Tom Landry, two guys famous for wearing hats, similar hats, both born on the same day. See, this is how we look for rhythms. People born on this day like hats. Born on this day in 1940, the great Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma draft. Oh, yeah, you better believe it. We're going to do a Brian De Palma draft. He was born on this day in 1940. Brian De Palma, one of the great filmmakers of all time. He makes my top 10 list of favorite directors. De Palma started out with Troma, like in the 60s and 70s, and made all kinds of like really cool, like they were just stupid low budget slasher flicks, but they were cooler than the regular ones. So he got kind of noticed and he got pulled out of that early 70s, grindhouse kind of stuff, and was given an opportunity to make some great films. So we are going to take the NFL process of drafting collegiate players, the NFL draft. We're going to use that template, and we're going to look at all of the films of Brian De Palma, and we're going to draft them 1 through 5. We're going to pick the 5 top picks out of the Brian De Palma filmography. Let's start. Here you go. Number 1, in most people's drafts, I would say number 1 is uncontested, but man, his number 2 is really good too. But number one, Brian De Palma, Scarface. Tony Montana. Scarface. Brian De Palma directed Scarface. From a screenplay by Oliver Stone. Did you know that? Oliver Stone wrote Scarface. Number 2 in the Brian De Palma filmography draft, we're going with The Untouchables. The Untouchables. De Niro as Al Capone giving that speech about enthusiasms. A man has got to have enthusiasms. And he starts talking about baseball, and he's walking around that table with the baseball bat. And then he just, if you haven't seen The Untouchables. Number 2 off the Brian De Palma draft, Untouchables. Number 3, and this is another one. It's so good. I watched this with my son. This was one of the movies that I made my son watch. We watched this probably 3 years ago. Carrie. Yeah, the original Carrie, the Sissy Spacek Carrie with the bucket of blood, John Travolta, that Carrie goes number 3 in the Brian De Palma draft. Number 4 in the Brian De Palma draft, coming off the board, one of my favorites. I just watched this Solo about a year ago. I don't know. I was like flipping around, the Netflix or whatever, and this movie popped up, and I'm like, that's a good movie. I don't think I've seen that movie since it came out. Carlito's Way. Carlito's Way is a good movie. Number 4 in the Brian De Palma draft. Number 5, we're going to go with the movie that really burst him onto the scene as a director in the early 1980s, Dressed to Kill. Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. this concludes our Brian De Palma draft. First off the board, Scarface. Number 2, Untouchables. Number 3, Carrie. Number 4, Carlito's Way. Number 5, Dress to Kill. And I'm sure there are some undrafted free agents that we'd be happy to have at camp this summer, but we are pressed for time. Brian De Palma draft is over. Born on this day in 1961, she says it's her birthday, Virginia Madsen, American actress. Now, she's the sister of Michael Madsen. Did you know that? Michael Madsen and Virginia Madsen. I know it because they're both kids from the south side of Chicago who went to the same college as me. Virginia Madsen, she was a young actress in Hollywood. She had done like one movie, and she came and talked to my drama class at Columbia. She came in, she's like, I was sitting right where you were. And we're all looking at her like, you ain't famous yet. Although I think she was famous. I think I knew her because she had made like a really dirty movie that was on like Showtime after dark. And I think me and most of the dudes in the class knew her from that. But she wasn't like Meryl Streep or anything. She was just an actress. She would go on to be, have a bunch of fairly acclaimed roles. She's pretty great. But there you go. KB Kevin Barber also says, yes, Virginia is married to Max Madsen. Max Madsen is... That's a Chicago reference. Max Madsen is a car dealer in Chicago who does the most culturally insensitive radio commercials you've ever heard, but they've been done for like 30 years. And everyone just goes, there's that Max Madsen making fun of Indian people again. It's just, I don't know. That's the reference that Kevin just made in the chat room. By the way, born on this day in 1965, celebrating a birthday. How about Moby? Moby, he's an American singer, songwriter, musician, and DJ. Does too many things for me to really know if he's good at any of them. Happy birthday, Moby. Born on this day in 1967, Harry Connick Jr. I hated this guy. I hated this guy forever. He just like popped on the scene, and he was handsome. He was like dating at this point Jill Goodacre. Jill Goodacre is like, I guess she goes by Jill Connick now, but Jill Goodacre, good Lord. She was like a model. She was a Victoria's Secrets model. She was like the greatest model of all time. At least that's how I felt. And then she starts going out with this Harry Connick Jr. guy. He's a lounge singer. And he's famous because he's a lounge singer. Because he's handsome. That's what he was. He was handsome. And then he was like, hey, this lounge singing thing, and this ain't going to go too far. I don't know why he sounds like Tony Bennett, but he probably does. He's like, hey, this lounge singing thing ain't going to go too far for me since it's, 1997 and nobody likes lounge singers anymore. So I'm going to start. And he started acting. And then he became Harry Connick Jr., the actor. And we all kind of went, oh, this is what he does now. I don't know. I never liked the guy. Also, his dad is a very famous and well-connected judge in New Orleans. And by the way, that's why Harry Connick got noticed, because his judge used to force all the important people of New Orleans to go watch his son play piano at some piano bar. Yeah. Look, my dislike for people, it's not unfounded. I tend to do some research. I tend to look into the backstory to see if there's a real reason. And by the way, Harry Connick's dad, crazy corrupt criminal. Happy birthday, Harry Connick Jr. Yeah, his dad was a judge. Yeah. Did you notice I told you both? Judge and crazy corrupt criminal. Or at least accused, allegedly. Shouldn't say that about the Honorable Mr. Connick, but you know what I'm saying? Okay, look it up. You can find stuff. That's enough about Harry Connick Jr. And, here's why I go on about Harry Connick Jr., because he's probably a nice guy on top of all of that stuff. I just have this, why? Why does he get to be that, right? Because his dad is a corrupt judge. Allegedly. I don't know. Again, I'm just going off information from 25 years ago. I don't know anything. Born on this day in 1970. Happy birthday to Taraji P. Henson. Cookie Lion. Love her. I love Taraji P. Henson. She was Cookie Lion. She was also in Hustle and Flow. She's good. She was in Hidden Figures. She's good. I like her. Got a crush on her. I kind of started having a crush on her when she was playing Cookie Lion in that show Empire. She was so good. The first 2 seasons of Empire are so good, and it's all because of Cookie Lion. She's awesome. Happy birthday to Taraji P. Henson. Cookie Lion, born on this day in 1970. I'm saying Cookie, like a cookie, and Lion. That was her name. Her first name was Cookie. Her last name was Lion. Cookie Lion. One of the characters said her name funny, and now I always say it that way. Born on this day in 1977. Happy birthday, Luda. Or do you call him Christopher Bridges, Christopher Bridge, whatever. He's ludicrous to you and me, born on this day in 1977. Okay, that's going to do it for birthdays that we're celebrating. Now we're going to do the thing where we sit in judgment of people who have passed on. That's right. We are going to look at people who have died on this day. We're going to look at what they've accomplished while they were here, and then we're going to decide heaven or hell. These people, what are they, going to heaven or hell? First, let's start off dead on this day in 1987. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this dude lived a lot longer than that. I can't believe he was so, I mean, I guess 87, I was already a late teenager, so. Well, I guess he was a big part of my childhood. He died in 1987. Lorne Greene. I don't know. He was on some cowboy show. Apparently, he was most famous for being on some cowboy show, but that's like a generation before me, so I'm not sure about what cowboy show. Ponderosa, Bonanza, one of the Gunsmoke, one of those shows that I never watched because I first wasn't born. Second, when it was at the end of those shows, I was like 2. I don't know what he did, but he was on Battlestar Galactica. He was the original, was he Colonel Adama or Commander Admiral Adama? I don't know, whatever he was. And then he did Alpo commercials. Remember Lorne Greene did the Alpo commercials? He was like America's dog owner for like 15 years on TV commercials. So I'm telling you, Lorne Greene is going to heaven. That's right. Lorne Greene went to heaven. He had to. Dogs. He loved the dogs. He was always, I'm Lorne Greene for Elpo. And he just always had a bunch of dogs. So stop it with your Lorne Greene hate. There's no room for it here. Dead on this day in 1987, Peter Tosh, Jamaican singer, songwriter, and guitarist. Jamon, Peter Toshman. Put him in heaven. I don't know enough about Peter Tosh. What am I going to do? I'm just going to put him in hell for no reason? When in doubt. Dead on this day in 2002, I'm preemptively putting her in heaven. Kim Hunter, dead on this day in 2002. You're like, oh, you just preemptively put someone I've never heard of in heaven, Pugs. There's got to be a reason behind it. There is. Kim Hunter was zero. Kim Hunter was, look, if you're Gen X like me, if you grew up in the 70s watching TV as a little kid and then in the 80s and all that stuff, come on. Zero. Planet of the Apes, you guys. Zero was you remember Zero? Remember there were 2 good apes in the whole damn thing? Zero was the doctor. Zero was the doctor ape. That was Kim Hunter. She was so kind. Oh my God, remember how scared Charlton Heston was? He's like, I don't know what it is. And then Zero holds his hand. And she gives him that look. She got them Zero eyes. She's got them Kim Hunter Zero eyes. And she looks at him. And momentarily, Charlton Heston knew that at least one of these weird apes that can use tools and have built a society, at least one of these apes seems to have some compassion for me. That was Zero. She's in heaven. Kim Hunter, actress, played Zero in Planet of the Apes. She's in heaven. Dead on this day in 2002, Johnny Unitas, pro football quarterback, and until Joe Montana came around, it was always Johnny U is the greatest quarterback of all time. And then, then you had the Staubachs and the Montanas. But I think Johnny U is kind of forgotten. I don't know that my kid probably doesn't know who the hell Johnny Unitas is. And why would he? I mean, that was a style of football that is basically played in 5th and 6th grade now, as far as the complexities of offenses and passing schemes and defenses and all that kind of stuff. So you're right. So maybe, maybe Johnny Unitas is forgotten, not because he wasn't good, but just simply because he was playing what is not even recognizable as the NFL, the current NFL game. I don't know. Johnny, where is he? Heaven or hell? I don't really give a crap about Johnny Unitas. I don't know of any story. Here's what I do know. You know what? Johnny Unitas is going to hell. Johnny Unitas is going to hell, and here's why. I know I said I err on the side of when I don't know enough, I err on the side of putting him in heaven. But Johnny Unitas is going to hell because I've heard some stories about football players back then, their debauchery. They were nuts. They were like criminals. You get a bunch of football players together in a bar in Baltimore in 1958, and I'm telling you, you basically have the Source Awards. I mean, it's just crazy. He's in hell. I'm putting Johnny Unitas in hell. Because I don't know if we're putting anybody else in hell. I'm looking at the rest of the people who died today. I don't think anybody's going to hell from this list because certainly preemptively we're going to put John Ritter in heaven. John Ritter died on this day in 2003. Old Jack Tripper from Three's Company. He then good for him, or we should say good for John Ritter's children, because at the end of his life, John Ritter had a hit TV show. So he was cranking, he's making that money. Because Three's Company money can only go so far. And by 2003, John Ritter needed something else. And he had that, 10 Simple Rules for Dating My Daughter. And then he dropped dead. God damn, John Ritter. How old was John Ritter? Oh, I don't even want to look at this. He was 50. He was 55. John Ritter was 55 years old, and he just dropped dead. He was on the set of the sitcom. They were filming the sitcom. He went out like Red Fox. I think Red Fox went out that way. Anyway, case in point, John Ritter's in heaven. We all like John Ritter. John Ritter never no trouble. Never went on the Tonight Show in the late 80s drunk and said some things about Armenians. He never did anything weird like that. John Ritter, he's in heaven. All right, and now this segment used to be called These Are the People Who've Died, These Are the People Who've Died. And that is from a song by Jim Carroll. And Jim Carroll is one of the people who've died, one of the people who've died. Jim Carroll, dead on this day in 2009. American author, poet, punk rock musician, and basketball player. That's right. That's a lot. Gets all that in there. The Basketball Diaries. I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Basketball Diaries. Leonardo DiCaprio. Who else was in it? Wahlberg was in it. Leonardo DiCaprio. Incredible film. Like the first film. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because Leonardo DiCaprio has been swinging for the fences with dramatic roles since he first popped up. Dude, Gilbert Grape. Did you guys ever see What's Eating Gilbert Grape? How old was Leonardo DiCaprio in that? 15? Playing a severely retarded kid? That was amazing. That was great. And then he does Basketball Diaries, and you're like, holy shit. This kid, this isn't just like some disposable, this isn't Skeet Ulrich, this isn't Josh Hartnett. This isn't some flash in the pan freaking actor that Hollywood's going to try and shove down our throats because he's handsome and young. No, this one actually has chops. This one has the Brad Pitt thing. This one's a Robert Redford type. This one is not only handsome and a sex symbol, but also, whoa, can he act? Basketball Diaries, great movie. Great movie about Jim Carroll. Jim Carroll died on this day in 2009, and I know quite a bit about Jim Carroll. And although I think that he was probably a decent human being by any standard, he's going to hell. The stuff that he did, I don't know. Do you forget about that based on later works if you do good stuff? But anyone who saw the Basketball Diaries, I mean, he's probably he did a lot worse after that too. Jim Carroll, dead on this day in 2009. Okay, that's going to do it. That's all we got as far as taking a look at the things that have shaped this day. So now it is time to get into the trending topics. Let's run through all the stuff that's happening today. I don't know how long today's show is going to go. We may not go. I know we started a little bit late. We may not go the full 2 hours. We're going to run through this stuff and we're going to get everybody prepped up and then we're going to move on with our days and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Because once again, there is no Radio Misfits tonight. I do apologize for that. And who cares anyway, right? Jets and Bills. Everybody wants to watch that anyway. Hurricane Lee is trending. Hurricane Lee is this hurricane that they've been trying to gin us up about for the last week now. Hurricane Lee is ain't gonna hit anything, but still, it's so powerful. All right, let's warn the seagulls. I don't know. What do you worry? It's not gonna hit anything. It's like in the middle of the Atlantic, and they're like, it could hit Boston. Boston could get some really bad rainstorms by the end of the week. Oh, really, Boston? Boston on the tumultuous Atlantic is going to get some rainstorms, and this is why Hurricane Lee is stupid. It dropped down to a category 1 and now it's a category 3 again. I don't care. Again, it's in the middle of the ocean. It's not going to hit anything. It's turning completely west away from the East Coast. I mean, if it keeps going by the weekend, it could hit Nova Scotia. Okay, they'll be fine. Right? Because hurricanes demand cold water or warm water. It's cold water up there. It'll be fine. Look, I don't know if you know about the history of Canada, but they've dealt with weather before. Okay? They'll be fine. There you go. That's my whole rant on Hurricane Lee. I've been ranting on hurricanes this whole season. They've been trying to gin us up since the whole thing with San Diego. Remember that's how it started? This is an early hurricane, and it's a quite confounding one, as it seems to be approaching from the west coast, and that doesn't usually happen. Rare is it that you'll see. Yeah, okay, whatever. This could be cataclysmic for Los Angeles and San Diego, and it wasn't at all. You know, it was cataclysmic for the people at Burning Man. They had some troubles, but so what? Screw those people. Then we had at Dallas. Remember at Dallas? At Dallas is going to be the most powerful hurricane to ever hit Florida. Okay, they were fine. Couple of days, hurricane stuff. We don't have death tolls. Everything's fine. And now we got this one. All right, here's something that I just can't believe is still happening. I've been like, so I'm following this off the air, off the stream, because I'm fascinated by it. I don't. And I haven't really been bringing it on the air because there's there's always updates. That's the thing that makes this so crazy. That there's always updates. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it should be a story. And now it is definitely a story. We are in day 12 of Danilo Cavalcante having escaped from the Chester County, Pennsylvania prison. We are in day 12. Okay, so here's the update. This is why it's trending now. And we kind of all probably thought this, right? But we don't all want to be Dog the Bounty Hunters. Remember Dog the Bounty Hunters? Anything that like the police do, Dog the Bounty Hunter is always going to be there on Newsmax or something to go, well, the police don't know what they're doing. So I don't mean to be that guy. But for the first 10 days, they were focusing the search on a 2-mile radius around the prison. Now, that 2-mile radius happened to include a really wealthy neighborhood. There was a mile of woods, and then there's this development of really rich homes. So that search for the first 10 days was basically just to ensure to the rich people there was nobody there. Meanwhile, I'm watching it going, this dude is more than 2 miles. There was no way that this guy would stay. You've been looking for 10 days within 2 miles just because, honestly, they wanted to clear the area. That's become painfully obvious. So yesterday, so it's on Friday. On Friday, a van gets stolen that is 5 miles outside the radius. So they're looking. So a van gets stolen 5 miles outside the radius, and it's stolen by Danilo Cavalcante. So they wasted 10 days doing this 2-mile thing. I think we were all right. I mean, weren't we 2 miles? Shouldn't it be bigger? Again, don't want to be Dog the Bounty Hunter because I don't know anything about this. I'm just watching online and I'm reading all the updates and watching the press conferences. So I don't. But 2 miles seemed weird, and it's been confirmed that that was weird. That they were only focusing on the 2 miles, which happened to cover the rich people's neighborhood. So they had a heavy police presence. The rich people were probably scared. They were like, "Oh, he's in the area," and so the cops stayed there for 10 days. Meanwhile, he's stealing vans 5 miles away, and then they find the van that he stole 20 miles away. So he's been seen twice over the weekend. He was seen twice on Saturday. He stole a dairy van. Apparently, he tried to contact 2 old acquaintances, and one of the acquaintances immediately called the police. And they were like, well, he called me, which I guess you have to do, depending on the level of your acquaintancy. I don't know if that's a word. I made it up. I make up words sometimes. And then on Sunday, they found the van that he stole 20 miles away from where they'd been looking. He's also changed his appearance. This dude's going to get away. There is no way. I just can't believe this guy's going to get away. And by get away, I mean they'll catch him in 6 months in San Francisco, right? Something like that. All right. There was an earthquake in Morocco over the weekend. I don't know if you guys saw this. It seems like it's pretty bad. Death toll over 2,000 people. They say Morocco has been reduced to the way it looked 2,000 years ago. But I thought that was the appeal of Morocco. That Morocco still looked like it was 2,000 years ago, just maybe with a Starbucks every now and again. People in Morocco slept in the streets as Marrakesh. People in Morocco slept in the streets of Marrakech Yeah, Marrakesh. What? So like, there's that. Like, is this Marrakesh? Is this like that CCR song, right? Marrakesh Express, isn't that? It's just a different. Those stupid hippies in the '60s pronounce it wrong, and now everybody's pronouncing it wrong. Is it called Marrakech? Anyway, people in Morocco slept in the streets of Marrakech for a third straight night as soldiers and international aid teams began to fan into remote mountain towns hit hardest by a historic earthquake. The disaster has now killed more than 2,000. Well, they got the actual number. All right. The disaster has killed more than 2,100 people, a number that is expected to rise significantly. And the United Nations has estimated that 300,000 people have been affected by Friday night's magnitude 6.88 quake. Weren't we on Friday? It was Friday's show. Remember, we went a little nuts with earthquakes being all Friday show. Remember, I'm like, oh, earthquakes trending, earthquakes trending, earthquakes trending. And then that one happened a couple of hours later, maybe a bunch of whole little tremors all over the earth. And then a big one later that day. Okay, so here's another big story that's gripping the international stage. Kim Jong-un, the intentionally marginalized, not even marginalized, exiled world leader, is going to visit Putin. Going to visit Putin in Russia. Now, this is just this is crazy because this is he's invited. The Kremlin has officially invited the leader of North Korea, the Hermit Kingdom, the country that the rest of the world has decided there is no dealing with these people, so we are going to just let them alone. That is why North Korea enjoys the global status that they currently do. They are the Hermit Kingdom. Nobody wants anything to do with them. Even Russia. Now, Putin and Kim met in Vladivostok. Like, so not like in the Kremlin, not like an official kind of thing. They met a couple of years ago, and that caused the world to go, why the hell is Putin meeting Kim? But then like 6 months after that, Trump meets Kim and steps across the line. So all bets are off as to what is considered. This is a big deal, and it speaks to the desperation of Vladimir Putin, that he is telling the rest of the world, okay, if you're all going to be against me, then I guess I've got to start being friends with the countries that nobody wants to be friends with. So he's going around and he's kind of making friends with places like Syria, which he already has a relationship with, Iran, North Korea. This is going to be the axis of idiocy. This is the axis of desperation that he seems to be putting together. Now, the big question here is, what's China going to do? Because China knows that this is like the dork lunch table, right? Let's look at this like it's a high school. China is one of the popular kids. China's got an edge to them. And, a lot of people are like, don't fuck with China, man. But China can still go and sit and have lunch with, the cool kids, the kids from England, the kids from America, the kids, that lunch table. But then there's like the stoner, burnout, troublemaker lunch table. And that's North Korea and Iran and Syria. And now Russia is sitting with them. Russia used to be allowed. They sat at the end of the cool table. Russia was at least allowed. Like, we had Frosty, but we would meet them, and there were official state visits, and all the countries of the world acknowledged Russia in their role. That's not the case for these other places. That's not the case for Iran and Syria and North Korea. So it's very interesting from how is Putin seeing his current state in the world? It's very interesting that the Kremlin has officially invited Kim Jong-un, someone who's been ostracized, exiled, marginalized, whatever you want to call it, by the rest of the world. It's being openly invited to the Kremlin. Woo! Developing, ... as they say. Again, there's nothing. I mean, Putin's going to find out that this is crazy, that these people are crazy, just like everyone else. China. Ask China about dealing with North Korea. China has been, we understand that it's important for them to exist as a maybe friend of ours, as a buffer in this region that the United States seems to have a very big control over. In the United States and our allies in that region, they do. And so China's like, okay, we're gonna let South Korea exist because they make you guys nervous, and we're not entirely sure that so it'll be interesting to see how China continues with the way they hang out with Russia. China's not really hanging out with Russia. Don't get China's meeting with Russia, and that's like China's meeting with Russia. What are they talking about? It's like when your two ex-girlfriends meet at a wedding or something, and you see them talking to each other. You're like, I don't want them to talk to each other. That's kind of, but they haven't done anything yet. Russia and China are just, China hasn't exiled Putin the way the rest of the world has. And that's the other thing. He's got to invite Kim to come see him because, remember, Putin's a war criminal. Putin can't leave the country. Well, this is what I mean when I say he's desperate. And these are interesting things to watch that he's doing these. Anyway, moving on. Here, according to a new poll, a globalist poll. Are you ready? Over half the world's citizens, this is a U.S. News and World Report poll. Hold on, I'm reading about it. Okay, so it was tabulated with the resistance of universities. Okay, now there's a link to all the universities around the world that helped U.S. News with this poll. Okay, so here's the thing. So they asked everybody around the world, including here in America, what's the most dangerous country in the world? And like over half of them said we were. Over half of the world is like America. See, it's all about perspective. This is why I tell you, I like to fall asleep at night watching BBC or English news. Because I like to hear the way they talk about us. I like to hear the way people with no dog in the hunt, as they say, people with no dog in the hunt tend to have absolutely no reason to lie. You get an honest opinion. So that's what I like. As opposed to watching Fox News, they got a dog in the hunt. Or CNN or MSNBC. They all have dogs in the hunt. BBC doesn't. BBC is just like looking at us like we're their older brother. They love us. So they're not too cruel. But, survey. Russia, we were just talking about. Russia rates the highest as a threat to the world. But over half see the United States as a true global danger. Nearly three-quarters of respondents to a U.S. News Best Countries survey believe that Russia is a global threat, though China and the U.S. aren't in the clear as they come in 2 and 3. So it's so if you ask somebody in Belgium, now, let's go even more remote. If you ask somebody in Indonesia, it's too ethnic. They're going to have like the whole Muslim hatred for it. I'm trying to find a place that might, if you ask somebody in Iceland, there you go. Iceland, right there, remote. Apparently, if you ask somebody in Iceland what the most dangerous and scary country in the world is, it's the United States. Or at least half the people responded. Most say that it's Russia, followed by the United States, followed by China. But does that shock you? Because, again, we have a dog in this hunt. So we tend to look in the mirror and go, America, and we're wearing the white hat, and we're the good guys, right? We're Luke Skywalker and Leia. That's what we're doing. But unfortunately, the rest of the world, or at least more than 50% of it, see us as Darth Vader and those people. Now, I would say to those people, really? Over Russia and China? And we could talk about that, but that was kind of shocking. By the way, the poll goes on to say that as recently as the late 1970s, the United States led as the champion of freedom around the globe. They're not even listed anymore. We're not even in that polling anymore. So I don't know what champion of freedom meaning. Here, no, let me go back to it. So anyway, and point is this. I can't go back. I don't want to go back. Let's just move forward with the show. The point is that it seems, according to this yearly polling, that the United States began to be seen as a threat starting around the 1980s, which would coincide with Reagan when Reagan got tough in the Cold War and all that stuff. So that's sort of plays out with the way I kind of view history as well. All right, let's keep going. Let's move on to some stupid stuff because that was pretty serious. And I don't necessarily like to think that the rest of the world thinks that we're bad guys. But let's move on to somebody who I'm pretty sure is a bad person. And I don't know that it's all her fault. I really don't. I don't know that it's her fault. I know how she grew up. I know where she came from. I know her story. Drew Barrymore is in the news. Drew Barrymore is just, She has been just an irritant of mine. She has done one thing in her entire career where I went, okay, she's just doing her thing. Well, basically, she's done one thing that hasn't irritated me. That's all I'm saying. She's done one thing in her entire career that didn't irritate me, and that was E.T. That was it. That was the only thing Drew Barrymore has ever done that didn't make me roll my eyes. E.T. She was like 6. What do you want? Well, look at this. Look at this idiot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love her and all that good stuff, but look at her. What do you want? You want to go outside? All right. I got to let her out real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Yeah, and I turned the camera off because I'm wearing bike shorts. And I don't know if they're necessarily pants. I don't know. They might be underwear. I don't know. I ain't wearing anything under them. And I don't think you guys should be able to see that when I walk in front of the camera to let the dog out. All right, girl, come on. Go, 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 go. She wants to go outside, of course, because it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous around here. Mid-80s. It's gray. Hey, to people like us who've just gone through about 100 straight days of like 105 at least, a cool, gray, overcast day is, so beautiful. Hold on, I'm coming. Just relax. I'm coming. Trying to put my earbuds in. Having a little bit of difficulty. There we go. Boom. There we go. Yeah, we don't need to see that. There we go. We like the sign there. All right, Drew Barrymore. We're talking about her. So she's... Okay, first of all, she's an actress, and anybody who's familiar with this show and my spouting off, you know that I know that actresses are some of the worst. Not worst. Like, they're not serial killer or child molester worst. Actresses are just like... you don't want to ride in the backseat of a car with them for like an extended period of time. They're just irritating. They're irritating. They're all about themselves, and they are all about maximizing whatever the moment is for emotional value. They're always practicing. It's hot in here. Can you turn up the air conditioning? I said, it's so hot in here. Can you please turn up the air conditioning? You know, it's like that. It's like, oh, stop it. I told you, I went to a college with a lot of actresses. They were all, it's a big theater department, big drama department there. And I've told this story before. We were going to Buddy Guy's Legends, and we were seeing some friends who were there having a party. Buddy Guy's Legends is like a blues club in Chicago, and we're driving around, and it's hard to find parking. And I couldn't find a parking spot, and I was getting frustrated. And I look over, and she is crying. She is crying because we couldn't find. Oh God. So Drew Barrymore is getting hammered because Drew Barrymore is going to do her show. Now, Drew Barrymore has been not doing her show since May because there's a writer's strike and there's an actor strike, and ain't nobody doing their shows because there's a writer's strike and there's an actor strike. Now, what does that mean? That means the writers can't write anything for old dummy face Drew Barrymore to say. So old dummy face technically has to write everything herself, or at least just speak extemporaneously, which I don't think she can do. I mean, I do it for 2 hours every day, but I don't think she can do it without writers. Then she can't have celebrities on because celebrities can't be on promoting anything that they're working on. So if she is going to have a celebrity on, they have to talk about recipes, or they have to talk about some other nonsense. Because if the actor happens to mention anything they're in or something that's coming out, then suddenly they're violating the terms of the strike. And is everybody in trouble? This is why there are no shows in production. But Drew Barrymore's bored. That's what she's saying. She's saying she's bored. She's ready to get back to work. And although back in May she was asked to host the MTV Awards, she said back in May, remember this, the strike started like in the first week of May. And then like as soon as the strike started, Drew Barrymore went, I work with talented and underappreciated writers every day on my show. I will not host the MTV Awards in violation of the writers' strike. I stand with writer. You know, it's Drew Barrymore. Everything's very dramatic. That's how she was back in May. Now she's like, I want to do my show again. I'm bored and I need money. I need money. And the writers, why are they? She's completely changed her tune. And now she's going into production with her show. She is promising that she's not going to violate any of the rules of the strike or anything. But people are pissed. Oh, they're so mad at her because there's no reason for her to do this other than, I just want to, you guys. I just want to. I believe in supporting the writers. But I just want to do my show again, guys, so I'm going to do it. But I do. I'm there for you, my writer friend. You know, she's one of these, like, that. What I just showed you there is a very realistic depiction of how actresses think. And that's why they're so freaking frustrating. I don't care if you watch your favorite actress on your favorite show and you're like, she seems awesome because the character that was written for her is awesome. But then you actually meet her. She is like a blank piece of paper. She is just whatever she needs to do in that. Oh, actresses are the worst. And I have to imagine that Drew Barrymore is an apex actress. And not like Meryl Streep is an apex actress. Drew Barrymore, I just mean, has all the emotional damage and all the manipulations and all those skills that attractive actresses use their whole life. Drew Barrymore says talk show will return amid strikes. The Writers Guild of Association has issued a picket alert against Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore announced her talk show will resume production despite the ongoing Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strikes. By the way, she's not allowed to perform because she's a member of SAG-AFTRA, but she's just going to do. I'm not acting up here. I'm being Drew Barrymore, talking to my friends. Not acting. Your whole life is an act, Drew Barrymore. You married Tom Green for like 12 hours. So weird. In a statement posted to Instagram Sunday, the actress, producer, and TV host said she decided it was time to return to work as the dual strike continues. She decided. Meanwhile, you got like these actors who were making nothing. They don't want to be on strike, right? They would rather have what they were making than go for another month of eating ramen noodles. And, you know, that's what they're, but Drew Barrymore, I've decided that it's over for me. Fuck. And here's what she says, just in case you have anything to say about Drew. Here's what she says. Drew says, I own this choice. This choice I own. Oh, God, yes. You are such a narcissist. It's not about you. It's not about you. In May, when you said you were turning down the MTV Awards to stand in solidarity with the writers, that seemed like it was about them, but it wasn't, was it? It was about you. It was about you being perceived in the moment as somebody who stands with people who are asking for something, even if I don't understand what they're asking for. That's what she's been revealing. Because now she's bored. Now it's been a couple of months. She's hung out all summer, and she's like, "But I want to do my show." And they're like, "There's a strike, and you can't because that would be bad." But I want to do my show. It's like it's like okay, but you can't because that's what sucks about the actual strike. See, Drew, it really does suck that there's a strike. You don't just get to go, this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to stand in solidarity. See that right there? You pledged to go through the suck. But now you're like, I don't want the suck anymore, but I stand with them. But you can't do both, Drew. You can't do both. Barrymore began by explaining why she decided to return to the studio after dropping out as host of the MTV Music Awards in solidarity with the WGA strike. She says, I made a choice to walk away from the MTV Film and Television Awards because I was the host and it had a direct conflict with what the strike was dealing with, which was studio, streamers, film, and television, Barrymore wrote. It was also in the first week of the strike, and so I did what I thought was appropriate. I mean, I didn't. God, that's not an excuse. That's the quiet part, Drew. You don't say the quiet part out in a statement. I mean, when I said I wasn't going to do the writer's strike and stand with the writers, sure, I wanted all the accolades that would come with me being brave in the moment. But it was, and this is literally what she says, but it was the first week of the strike, like when it was convenient for her. But it was a convenient time for me to take that stand. And now it's just not convenient. Why isn't it convenient, Drew? Because I want to do my show. It's like, okay, you want to do your show. There's a strike. Can't do your show. But I want to, and I'm going to do it anyway. And screw all of those people who I stand with. I stand with them. I mean, did you see the madness? Fuck her. All right, we're done. I don't want to talk anymore about Drew Barrymore, but she's getting dragged, and she's getting rightfully dragged. How about some NFL? The NFL came back yesterday, and it was ugly. That's what they're saying. They're saying ugly NFL debut. Terrible. More flags thrown yesterday than in any opening week in the history of them noticing such things. I don't know. They've probably only been counting for like 3 years, but you know what I mean? Excuse me. Okay, so here's the story. This is an interesting piece out of the Wall Street Journal. Right before the first Sunday of the NFL season, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow signed a historic contract that made him the highest paid player in the sport's history. Then he took the field and had the worst game of his career. Congratulations, Cincinnati. You thought you were signing Joe Burrow. Really? You signed Matt Hasselbeck. Enjoy. Oh my God. Burrow was awful. Oh, Cincinnati should have rolled. Anyway. Burrow's poor performance in Cincinnati's 24-3 loss to the Cleveland Browns was out of character for him, but it wasn't an anomaly on the opening weekend. It was a brutal start for offenses consistently across the league. It didn't just look ugly, it's backed up by data. Through Sunday night's games, quarterbacks averaged 6.3 yards per attempt, a sizable dip from the 7.0 yards last season. Teams averaged 20.6 points, which was far below last year's mark of 22 points a game. Passing touchdowns were down while sacks and fumbles were way up, helping drive a start that lacked the widespread scoring explosions that have become commonplace in recent years. Messy. I don't know, it's just messy. I don't know what. Yeah, well, here's why. I mean, I don't know if this was always the case. There used to be 4 preseason games. I don't know if you remember that, but there used to be 4 preseason games, and nobody played in the 3rd preseason game. And then the starters would get a good quarter or a half to work in the 4th. The 4th was the final tune-up, right? Third preseason game, which is the final preseason game we have now. We only have 3 now. 3rd preseason game was always used to let all of the bubble players play. Let's go. Full game of bubble players, because after that 3rd week is when the final cutdowns took place, and then you would go into the final preseason game with your team. And that would be, so you would start your players, you get them tuned. We don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. And, look, for a lot of reasons, some of which I agree with, I mean, it was a bit exploitative of the players. They weren't getting any cut for these preseason games, and it was another home game for the team. Team got the, charge for beer and parking and all that kind of stuff, but they weren't included. And, dangerous, because we live in the era now where it's like, how many times did he get a concussion? So they're looking to, so they got rid of a preseason game. And now it's only 3. And I think that we're going to see this now. I think we're just going to see sloppy football for the first couple of weeks, because starters don't play in the preseason anymore. The big star starters, right? My own team, Justin Fields, he had 2 drives the entire preseason. That's it, 2 drives. And I think it was only like 3 passes, and both were touchdowns, and one was, so I mean, there's nothing. Joe Burrow didn't play the entire preseason. Joe Burrow signs his big deal. He shows up, he shits the bed in week 1. I mean, it's because these guys, it's sloppy. It's not because football players aren't good anymore or anything like that. And I don't think anybody's trying to say that. But my point is, Yeah, it's sloppy. It's going to be sloppy for a couple of weeks. Don't worry about it. Week 3, week 4. Hey, some teams didn't look sloppy. Dallas Cowboys didn't look sloppy. Jordan Love led Green Bay Packers didn't look sloppy. Some teams didn't look sloppy. San Francisco 49ers didn't look sloppy. There are teams out there that didn't look sloppy. But for the most part, and the facts tend to prove that it was a really bad game. Penalties, fumbles, turnovers, all that stuff, sacks. Here's someone who's dead. This is Texas country. I don't think he's not like, you want to go like Texas, Austin, country outlaw. He's not an outlaw. Charlie Robinson. Charlie Robinson is dead. Died 59 years old, dropped dead of a heart attack in San Antonio yesterday. He's a big name. He's a big name in country, Texas country. My hometown, that song, not the Springsteen one, but this real beautiful one about Houston, and he name checks Dallas. And it's just a great song. It's a really great, beautiful song. Famously, he was married for a number of years to Emily Robinson, who is, of course, from the Dixie Chicks. So he was involved in that whole scene, the whole Dixie Chicks mafia. Dropped dead of a heart attack Saturday night. He was 59 years old. And that's really sad because he seemed like a good dude. He had some problems. He partied, but he seemed like a fun guy. Charlie Robinson drops dead. I got to let the dog in. Excuse me. The unspoken promise, dog, was that you were going to stay out for at least an hour. Now you've decided that you want to come in. I've got to yet again inconvenience that loyal audience because you want to come in. That's it. Go right to bed. All right, excuse me. I had to tuck her in. She came bounding through the door and jumped right up into the bed in the bedroom, which she's not really supposed to do, but when I'm not in there, she likes to lay in my little area of the bed because I got the pillows set up just right, and she likes to lay there. So I had to. She ran right in. She jumped right in there, and I wasn't going to fight with her, so had to tuck her in, put a little blanket on her because it's cold in there, and I like my dog. All right, Charlie Robinson dead at the age of 59. That's very sad. Martin Short. I'm not getting what's going on here with Martin Short. Somebody somewhere, I don't know the origins of this. I know that somebody in a writer for a publication, and the publication must have some significance because this guy's been trending for 3 days. Martin Short has been trending because some writer did a whole expose on how Martin Short is just not funny. And I don't know if it was by design or what, but this dude has gotten so much blowback for this hot take, this Martin Short hot take. Martin Short is not funny. The entire entertainment industry has basically come out and just attacked this person. Now, my history of Martin Short, I love Martin Short. I'm an SCTV guy. I would say that a good 70% of what my sense of humor was formed by watching those episodes of Second City TV back in the 1970s and early 80s. And Martin Short was certainly a major part of that. Loved Martin Short. So I'm a Martin Short fan. I have, however, said on numerous occasions that he seems a little much sometimes. like being around Martin Short as Martin Short in every whenever he's on stage, he's performing, and that just seems like there's a little bit too much energy there, and it might get a little bit much. I feel the same about Sean Hayes, if you're familiar with Sean Hayes. I love Sean Hayes. He's part of my favorite podcast, Smartless. Sean Hayes is a wonderful man. He's funny, he's quick-witted, and he's smart, and he seems really decent and kind, but also a little much. Sean Hayes famously played Jack in Will and Grace. A little much. It's a little much for me. All right, so here's the Martin Short story. Ben Stiller, Mark Hamill, John Cusack, and a host of other stars have rushed to defend Martin Short after he was branded desperately unfunny. The Only Murders in the Building actor was the subject of an op-ed from Slate titled, "Why We Keep Putting Up with Martin Short," which argued his over-the-top characters over the years have been unbelievably annoying and claimed his so-called shtick over his 5-decade career was exhausting, sweaty, and desperately unfunny. All right, so that's the shit, and everybody's coming to his rescue. Ben Stiller posted, "Martin Short is a comedic genius. End of story." Star Wars actor Mark Hamill shared a selection of Martin Short's past roles, along with the caption, "Hard to believe people are actually debating whether or not Martin Short is funny. Newsflash, he's hilarious." Who is this? He highlighted one of Martin's sketches from his stint at Second City Television, writing, "Mr. Rogers' boxing match is my favorite comedy bit of all time." Yeah, that's a good one from SCTV. Martin Short is Mr. Rogers in a remember Battle of the Network Stars? Remember that was a thing? So Second City did, Battle of the PBS Stars or whatever it was. And it was like I think it was Julia Child fighting Mr. Rogers. And Martin Short was Mr. Rogers. Just get the shit kicked out of it. It's funny. It's funny. Anyway, that's why Martin Short is trending. People are saying he's not funny. He is absolutely hysterical. I mean, he is brilliantly funny. He's just, for me, a little bit much. But I can tell you, I mean, if you were like, "Pugs, 5 things that Martin Short has done that have made you I could easily rattle off 5 things. Ed Grimley. Ed Grimley is hysterical. Three Amigos is hysterical. The father of the bride, Serge, as the wedding planner, hysterical. He's funny and everything. Martin Short is funny. Leave him alone. Jesus, he's like in his 80s, man. His wife Nancy just died. He's a widower. Well, she didn't just die, but they were so close. It's like, oh, by the way, that's like a clip that I saw circulating this weekend. So Martin Short went on Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda Kotb's show. The show where they just leave their kids in the car and drink wine on TV for an hour. I don't know what that show is, but it's basically what the Hoda Kotb Kathy Lee show was. So they had Martin Short on, and Martin Short's wife, Nancy, had died. They were together for like 40 years. She had died like a couple weeks earlier or recently. And Kathy Lee Gifford, with her big glass of wine, she's like, "Tell me about Nancy. You two have been married forever, and you're like just the Hollywood love story that everybody wants to keep rooting for. Tell me, how have you stayed together so long?" And again, his wife had just died. And you know what Martin Short did? Played along. Martin Short did not do what a lot of other people would do in that moment, to see a moment where they could act like someone who's been victimized. They could say, Martin Short very easily could have said, "Oh, Kathy, you're obviously not aware, but Nancy died 2 weeks ago." He didn't do that. Because what would the result of that have been? It would have been her feeling horrible. Just human to human, she would have felt horrible. It would have been, Kathy Lee is terrible. She probably would have gotten in trouble for it. So in the moment, what did Martin Short chose to do? Martin Short chose to just be, I love her. Even though she had just died. He seems like a good dude. I tell you, sometimes I listen to those books on tapes. Martin Short's biography, narrated by him. Book on tape. I put it on, it's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. You just listen to it. I went to bed for probably, 2 weeks. Listening to the story of that guy's life from the earliest time by him talking about Nancy, his wife, and all this stuff. So yes, he might be a little bit hard to take and a little bit over the top sometimes, but the question is Martin Short funny? I don't even respond to that question because it's such a stupid question designed to create some kind of animus between us. Get out of here with that question, is what I say. Of course he is. Michael Irvin is also trending. Michael Irvin is back in the good graces of the NFL Network. This is a question we were just asking a couple of weeks ago on the Radio Misfits show that we do every, whenever we can, 9 p.m. Not tonight. Tomorrow, definitely not tonight. Michael Irvin last year got sent home from the Super Bowl and was suspended from all duties concerning the NFL Network because of his alleged actions there at the Marriott during the Super Bowl last year. We saw the video. We broke down the video. Michael Irvin was accused of being inappropriate with an employee there at the Marriott. We saw the video. He's definitely, damn girl, what's going on? He's definitely doing that. He's drunk. He's on his way up to his hotel room. He's Michael Irvin, which means many times in the past, he's been able to drag a girl up to the hotel room just on a whim because he's Michael Irvin, and that's how these guys live. Not just Michael Irvin, talking about anybody with that kind of swag. You can hang out. Tell you want to meet pro football players? Find out when curfew is and then go to the hotel bar about 45 minutes before curfew. You will see all the football players trying to get girls to come up to the rooms with them because they got to be in the rooms. Hotel bars. Anyway, so Michael Irvin's trying to pull that move. Hey, damn, baby, you're gonna, that whole thing, that clumsy, drunk 60-year-old thing that he does. I'm the playmaker, baby, whatever it was. He didn't touch her. He didn't assault her, but he's definitely, he's definitely in dude talking to girl, body language, that kind of thing. So, but nothing happened. And then she filed some kind of complaint. I don't know. He probably said, you want to come over and rub my snake? Something like, he probably said something Michael Irvin-y, and she was offended and she told somebody, and that's what it was. You can say something offensive. Hey, man, if you want to walk up to strange girls and go, I think you're attractive. If you think I'm attractive, we should go to my room and we can have sex. If you think you can pull that off, I don't see that as being any kind of harassment because the ball is completely in the court of the other person who's going to go, yeah, no, I don't think you're attractive. Bye. So that's kind of what happened. Anyway, what was the end result of it? The end result of this absolutely nothing interaction between Michael Irvin and some girl who works for the Marriott kept him off the air for the better part of the last 10 months. Well, NFL Network has announced he's back. They didn't just announce it. He was there yesterday for day one, week one of the NFL, whatever it is they do on the NFL Network. Michael Irvin is back. As far as the complaint against Michael Irvin came, Marriott found that it was unfounded and that there was nothing. She never filed any charges or anything like that. Michael Irvin, however, he turned around and he sued Marriott, and Marriott settled. So after all of this, Michael Irvin got his job back at NFL Network. He got a check from the Marriott Corporation for saying that he, for the presumption, right? There was a presumption. Oh, geez, what did Michael Irvin do? That story got around for like a week, and we all know what Michael Irvin's capable of, is my point. So we're like, oh, he probably did it. And then we see it. And, there's nothing actionable there. And if that's all they got, yeah, if I was Michael Irvin, I'd sue Marriott too, because you got me kicked off the Super Bowl. That's my job. That's my bread and butter. You know how many people won't hire me now? Although that was kind of nonsense because he got hired. He's doing Get Up, right? Isn't he opposite Skip Bayless now? So he's got that gig. He's got a gig as a rotating counterpart to Skip on Get Up. Or wait, is that Get Up? What is it? I don't know. These shows are there's so many of them. And then he's got, now he's back on NFL Network. So and he got a check from Marriott because, hey man, they besmirched the playmaker. Jimmy Fallon is trending again. Jimmy Fallon's been trending. He's getting, we told you, he's taken an Ellen DeGeneres right across the chops. They are Ellen DeGeneresing Jimmy Fallon. And I can see it in both cases. I've always said that I don't trust Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon seems like a D-bag, big phony D-bag. You know what? Here, as a matter of fact, check this out. Here, I forgot that I pulled this because this was trending with Jimmy Fallon is a phony D-bag. Here. What? How did we skip over that? I don't know how we skipped over that. Okay. We skipped over a story that I wanted to talk about. All right. So there is always truth in humor. There is always one of the things that I'm learning going to comedy writing class is that, comedians, when they tell these jokes and they're awful and you go, it's totally okay because it's just a joke. No. Most of the time, these things come from real experience, real life experience, real observations. If you've got an observation that goes against maybe what society is telling you you should be seeing. If you've got an observation and you say it and you form it as a joke, people will laugh at it in a comedy club, but it's true. You really do feel that way. Here's an example of this. We were just talking about Martin Short. Here is Martin Short on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. It's Martin Short. It's Martin Short and Steve Martin talking. There you go. We're sharing it now. It's Martin Short and Steve Martin. They're probably promoting It's Only Murders in the Building or whatever that is. But listen to how Martin Short says something that I think is absolutely true. And it's now being revealed as, this Rolling Stone expose about what a D-bag Jimmy Fallon is behind the scenes and the way he treats people. He's a huge phony is basically the whole thing about the Rolling Stone article. So this is just like a year ago. Here's Martin Short on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
This is the greatest show on television because there is no host in late night that pretends to care the way you do.
Thank you.
And I love that. And I love that so much. Oh, no.
Thank you.
I mean, no one captures phoniness the way you do. It's a gift.
All right. So, yeah, I know that seems like something funny that was said on the show. Oh, and he's just funny. He's just saying that because he's a comedian. No, he's a comedian who wrote that line because that's how he really feels about Jimmy Fallon. He feels that Jimmy Fallon is a phony. And now as a comedian, he has the skill set to be able to present it in a way and say it. Speaking truth to power in that very moment. He has a way of saying it and presenting it that everyone will just go, oh, that's so funny. But he means that. People, I've seen that forever. I've been saying that about Jimmy Fallon. And there you got Martin Short calling him out. Okay, so what is the latest here? So Jimmy Fallon is kind of being, I didn't know about this, but this is now one of the pieces of the Jimmy Fallon's an a-hole story that's going around. So Tina Fey, who is thought to be, and I say thought because this is the way they presented it to us, but it might not be the thing. It might just, Tina Fey is thought to be Jimmy Fallon's mentor. Tina Fey is thought to also be Seth Meyers' mentor. Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon apparently do not love each other. They do not love each other. They were both, taken under the wing of Tina Fey when she was the head writer. Seth would become the head writer. Jimmy never did. But so there's this whole thing where Tina Fey and Jimmy Fallon are tied at the hip, and she's like his little, he was like her little twink when she was this sexy MILF that was basically running the show at Saturday Night Live for a bunch of years. Amy Poehler happened to have been Tina Fey's best friend and counterpart and writing partner and performance partner and all of these things. Jimmy Fallon and apparently Amy Poehler did not get along. And Tina Fey tells a story about one time at a table read for Saturday Night Live when Amy Poehler was brand new and she was trying to establish herself and her character and all this stuff. And Jimmy Fallon was kind of a star already. Jimmy Fallon already had a little bit of star power on Saturday Night Live. Like maybe he'd been there for a year or so. And now here comes Amy Poehler. They were polar opposites. That's what it says, the headline. A tense exchange between former Saturday Night Live co-stars Amy Poehler and Jimmy Fallon has gone viral after the late night show host was accused of creating a toxic work environment for all of his employees at The Tonight Show. The heated interaction, which was posted to X, formerly Twitter, was initially covered by Tina Fey as she wrote about in her autobiography in 2013 and spoken about multiple times. All right, so here, this is what happened. It's a table read at Saturday Night Live. This is how Tina Fey describes the situation, okay? Remember, Tina Fey was the head writer. So she was overseeing this whole thing. It says here, this is Tina Fey writing. Amy Poehler was new to SNL, and we were all crowded into the 17th floor writer's room, waiting for the Wednesday night read-through to start. Amy was in the middle of some nonsense with Seth Meyers across the table, and she did something vulgar as a joke. I can't remember what it was exactly, except it was dirty, and it was loud, and it was unladylike. So again, this is Tina Fey describing Seth Meyers and Amy Poehler riffing in the room together. And Amy Poehler does something that's, not ladylike, right? I can't remember exactly what it was that she did, except that it was dirty, it was loud, and it was unladylike. Jimmy, speaking of Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy turned to her and in a faux squeamish voice said, "Stop that. It's not cute and I don't like it." Now remember, this is Tina Fey reporting this. "Stop that. It's not cute and I don't like it." Amy dropped what she was doing immediately, went black in her eyes for a second, wheeled around facing Jimmy and said, "I don't fucking care if you like it." Jimmy was visibly startled, and Amy immediately went back to riffing with Seth. With that exchange, a cosmic shift took place. Amy made it clear that she wasn't there to be cute. She wasn't there to be what Jimmy wanted her to be. She wasn't there to play wives and girlfriends in the boys scene. She was there to do what she wanted to do, and she was not effing careful about it in any way. That's pretty badass, because, that's got to be intimidating for somebody. Amy Poehler, she's new, but it just goes to show how Jimmy Fallon is, he's like kind of a dick. Like, he's a comedian. I mean, I know people who aren't comedians, who have never worked in ensembles or worked in improv and all that. You don't really understand when people are riffing. You don't tell them, "I don't like it. That's not cute." You don't try and manipulate them. They're riding a wave. They're gonna do 100 things, right, in the next 30 seconds. And 95 of them are going to be like eye roll material. It's like, okay, that wasn't good. But the whole purpose is to get 5 that are great. So when she's just riffing with Seth Meyers and they're doing something and Jimmy, like, it's a bad coworker, especially if you're a comedy writer. I mean, when you brainstorm, oh God, I have some people in my life who I refuse to brainstorm with because they're the worst. Because you can't bring your ego into a brainstorm. Like, if you're going to get together and you're going to start talking about things, you got to be willing to say really stupid shit. And if somebody does say something stupid and you're in a brainstorm and you go, "That's stupid," you're out. We can explain why it won't work, and we can talk about why, but we don't. That's not what you do. And it seems like that's what Jimmy Fallon was. And also, he's being accused of that in the Rolling Stone article. All right, so it's not over for Jimmy Fallon. I'm just pleased to say that I always knew that he seemed like kind of a J-bag. It's okay, though. It's not going to affect him. It's not going to affect him at all. This is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. You think the Tonight Show is going to get rid of him? 60-year-old women in Nebraska love him. He ain't going anywhere. He is not. You think 60-year-old women in Nebraska follow the hashtag toxic Jimmy hashtag on Twitter? No, nobody knows. And why it took out Ellen was because Ellen was on her way out anyway. Ellen was leaving. Ellen didn't want to keep doing it. Ellen was, they had announced that the show was ending, and then all the bad stuff came out. But no, Jimmy will be fine. You should hear the stuff about Carson. What do you think? Johnny Carson wasn't an a-hole? Johnny Carson was a mean drunk who ruled that show. The Tonight Show has a history of being run by, look, we're not even talking about the Leno years back when Helen Kushnick was running the show. Helen Kushnick was Leno's manager. She was insane. She demanded that she become executive producer of the Tonight Show, and they gave it to her, and she fired everybody. Anyway, apparently the Tonight Show makes you be a dad. Never mind. I tried to say jag bag, but for some reason. All right, so now we're going to talk about a couple of other celebrities. This one is I've got to keep an open mind here. I gotta try and look at this. Yeah, boy, is this difficult for me. Here's why it's difficult for me. Because I think you all know that I have a list of celebrity couples who I enjoy, who I think are my favorite. Right now, it's Kristen Bell and Dak Shepard are number one. Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman are another one of my favorite celebrity couples. Who's rising up the ranks? Cardi B and Offset. Kind of liking Cardi B and Offset, not moving them into the top 5 just yet. Yay. I don't know. I'm just going to give that one a little more time. It seems volatile, but fun. They seem fun together. Anyway. So one of my big 3 has always been Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. Love those two. And they are taking it on the chin this weekend. Why? Because they were friends with Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson, of course, played Hyde in that 70s show. Danny Masterson is Danny Masterson is doing 30 years in prison for the rape of 2 women. A third came forward, but her case was thrown out because it was, they were, They were engaged, and it just far more complicated. But he was convicted on 2 rapes of 2 women. He drugged them, slipped a little something into their drink. They passed out. They woke up. They realized they had been raped. And now here we are 20-something years later, because Scientology was involved. 20-something years later, he's going to jail for 30 years. He should have already been doing 20 years, but, whatever. These things happen. Justice was served. Took a while. Before sentencing, and this is something that happens, before sentencing, person who is facing the axe will often reach out to people in their lives to write letters of recommendation or character assessments. 2 of the people who wrote character assessments for Danny Masterson before he was sentenced was Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Why? Because they were very good friends. Those character references, and I've written a couple. I have actually written 2 off the top of my head for people who were facing things. And, I can tell you that the ones that I wrote were incredibly sincere. They were absolutely, I meant everything that I put in there. Because when there's somebody you care about and they're facing something and you're just trying to help them any way you can, you're pretty sincere about that. You take it pretty serious. And that's what Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis did for their old friend, their old and dear friend. Now, taking a simplistic view of this, you go, well, their old dear friend is a rapist. But, things are complicated. Did they know he was a rapist? Were they complicit in the situation? Was this part of a greater culture that everyone knew about and laughed about? I got to be honest with you. It's starting to look like yes. It is starting to look like maybe Ashton Kutcher and at the very extreme, possibly Mila Kunis may have known about Danny Masterson being a complete dirtbag. But, I have to tell you, I grew up in an era where people openly joked all the time about drugging women. I knew it was wrong. I never did it, but there were public and open jokes about how do we get some Spanish fly or whatever. People would go on TV on the Tonight Show with their cigarettes in their glass, and they'd be talking about what a swinging lifestyle they have, and they say, yeah, you just drop a little something in a drink, and they all go home, and the whole world laughed. So funny. And now the Cos. Is the Cos even in prison? I don't know. All these people. That is such a weird thing, man, when I look back on that. I mean, I always knew it was wrong. You didn't drug a woman, but there was like a class of men, player men, like men who could probably get it anyway because they were attractive and powerful. The Cosbys, the stars of that 70s show. You don't need it. But what are they trying to expedite the process? Man, I ain't got time to spend an hour in a bar talking to this chick. I just drop it in her and she'll come home. So Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher are kind of taking a lot of heat. Not kind of, they are. Absolutely. Taking a lot of heat for a letter that they wrote that was released. The letters aren't supposed to be released, but whatever. They got released because I don't know what this world is anymore. There's no institutions. You're not supposed to release letters to the judge on behalf before sentencing. That's not supposed to be but it did. It got leaked, and they made it online, and So now they're apologizing. They got him a video. Here is a video from Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis where they are explaining the whole situation as it pertains to, where is it? Michael and Ashton Kutcher, there it is. But where do I want to show this video? Hold on. I don't know if this is the video, because there's actually another video that I want to show you that is so weird concerning Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. Anyway, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis immediately put out a video where they're sitting on their back steps and they're talking about this letter that they wrote. This letter is not blaming the victims. They did that whole thing because they know that people were like, they're friends with them. Okay. They were really good friends with him. And apparently the victim, the woman who, well, at least the woman who's coming public with it, there's a girl named Chrissy Bixler. By the way, fun fact, Chrissy Bixler is actually married to the lead singer of the Mars Volta. So, you know. Chrissy Bixler is one of the victims, and she wrote some, see if we get this for you. She wrote some stuff, man. She wrote some stuff about Ashton Kutcher and about Mila Kunis, and this in the wake of the 30-year sentence for Danny Masterson. So here, I'll read it to you. Warning, this post contains descriptions of sexual violence. Okay, soon after that 70s show, Danny Masterson was sent to 30 years to life in prison for rape. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis pre-sentencing letters were leaked to the internet. In response, the internet has been seething with rage over the two, and even one of Masterson's accusers, Chrissy Bixler, is speaking out about it. She posted a lengthy response to her Instagram story in the light of the letters hitting the internet. She shared her response in a screenshot obtained by Hollywood Life by speaking to both Kutcher and Kunis. Bixler started her response to Ashton and Mila by saying, "Dear Ashton, I know the secrets your role model keeps for you." Now, I want to stop here. We'll break away from Danny Masterson's accuser now calling out Ashton Kutcher on the internet over this weekend, on social media, the internet. Jesus, what am I, 80? Dear Ashton, I know the secrets your role model keeps for you. Now, this is something that apparently Ashton Kutcher in like the early days saw Danny Masterson as his role model. Like apparently like Danny is like the leader of that little gang of people. And to make things worse, guess what? Apparently they were all super mean to Topher Grace. Like Topher Grace didn't hang out with Fez or Danny Masterson or Ashton Kutcher or whatever. Topher Grace from that if you're that 70s show fan, he was the star of it, and they all thought he was lame and weird. He just Topher Grace didn't like the way Danny Masterson sort of ruled over everybody. That's coming out now. Bixler started her response to Ashton and Mila by saying, "Dear Ashton, I know the secrets your role model keeps for you, ones that would end you. Did you forget that I was there? You were on speakerphone that night. You called Danny on February 21st, 2001. I hear everything. I heard the plan. In my opinion, you're just as sick as your mentor." Now, what is she talking about? I had to do a little bit of research into this one this morning because I was like, wait, what? February 21st, 2001. She says that she was there when Ashton Kutcher called Danny Masterson and he was in some kind of a situation. Now, many Twitter users were quick to speculate the importance of that date, February 21st, 2001. This has also led many to a resurfaced video of Kutcher's problematic behavior, specifically his comments about teenage girls. Okay, so what is that date? Did you guys know that Ashton Kutcher's girlfriend in February of 2001 was murdered by a serial killer? I'm not kidding. This is real. This is real. The Hollywood Butcher or whatever, he killed two people, and one of them was Ashton Kutcher's girlfriend, and Ashton Kutcher found the body. Ashton Kutcher went over to pick her up for a date, looked through the window because she wasn't answering, saw what he believed was a spilled bottle of wine all over the entryway. That was blood. She was butcher. I had no idea. Why? Because it was 2001 and nobody really cared about Ashton Kutcher then. But man, all right. Bixler also wrote to Kunis saying, "Dear Mila, I pray you begin to process what you experienced as a child on that set. Your old interviews are very telling. I encourage everyone to watch them and decide for yourself what you hear and what you see. Do so before they get scrubbed from the internet, Mila. I also know what happened in Toronto and after that. Question, if that's what you view as a normal relationship with a big brother figure, Mila, I feel very sad for you. And I hope you consider getting into therapy. You almost forgot that I was there the whole time, those first 5 years of that 70s show. I remember everything. Oh, man. So again, apparently Danny Masterson sort of ran the roost. He was like, hey, here's where we're going. He was Party Central. And, Wilmer Valderrama's like, let's go, Danny. And apparently young Ashton Kutcher was also like, yeah, Danny's our leader. And so they got into some stuff. They were young, handsome, well-paid TV stars in Hollywood. They're in their early 20s. And they didn't hang out with little old Topher. That's too bad. Does this go on? Anything else? Let's see here. Oh, here is a video that I did want to show you. It's kind of a weird video. Yeah, that's how I posted it. I posted it as, this is a weird video. All right, so this is some really old video, and by really old, I mean from like the early 2000s. Rosie O'Donnell had a TV show. So this was from Rosie O'Donnell's TV show. It appears to be some kind of big promotion for that 70s show, which I can imagine because it was a popular show, it was a big show, and So they seem to have the entire cast of that 70s show on. Right now, what we're going to see is a conversation between Rosie O'Donnell, Ashton Kutcher, and Mila Kunis. Now, what's interesting here is that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher now in 2023 are married and have been married for a while. And they're one of my favorite Hollywood super couples. They were not married here. I don't even think they were dating here. I think they were just on as co-stars, and they were on together because, of course, their characters in that 70s show were dating. But in real life, they weren't. So here you go. This is kind of a weird video from back.
She was 14 when we started the show. I was like 19, right?
There you go.
You know what's funny is when she was 14 when we started the show. I was like 19, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, you guys are going to be making out in this scene. And I'm like thinking like, wait, this is like slightly illegal,
that's
right?
probably your first kiss ever, right?
It was my first kiss. Why someone bet you made with Danny about our first kiss?
No, it wasn't the first kiss. This was like a second or third kiss.
It was the first. It was like the first week.
No, it was not the first week.
Let me tell you what happened.
Let me tell you what happened.
No, okay, so I've never kissed a guy. So I was so, Ash was attractive, and I was a 14-year-old little girl, and I was extremely scared for my life.
Sure.
And he was very nice about it. He was like, oh, don't worry. So I was like, okay. Then Danny goes and goes, dude, I'll give you $10 if you French kiss her. What would you stick your tongue in my mouth or some?
What? No.
For $10.
You're making it sound like it was like really. Okay, Dan, we had a little side bet going.
Yeah.
Like,
Which was?
It wasn't very
as to whether or not, you're kissing on the show or boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
You would use tongue, right, Rosie? I mean, you would. It
depends what kind of an actor you are, I guess.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So Danny bets me like $20 that I wouldn't do it, and of course I'm like, yeah, sure, what's the deal?
And then the cop showed up and you got arrested, pretty much.
They should have,
He
but they
never
didn't.
did it. And
I so did it.
He claims to this day he did that. I swear.
Mila, I so did it.
He never did it.
I didn't let him. I think he tried.
Okay, so are we understanding what's happening here, and the comfort of which Ashton Kutcher seems to be? He's so comfortable with. He's advocating for the fact that he did try to stick his tongue down a 14-year-old girl's throat when he was 19. I mean, that's what she's saying, no, he didn't. It's almost like she's trying to protect him from even worse. Danny Masterson, of course, he comes off as the worst in this because he's the one that went to the 19-year-old Ashton and said, hey, you've got a kissing scene with that 14-year-old kid. I'll give you $20 if you stick your tongue down. And Ashton Kutcher's like, yeah, and I did it.
I think I kept my mouth so closed.
Yeah. You did the old teeth block?
Yes.
Yeah, you didn't let him
do the teeth block. You were like, oh,
yes, he never got his
you were
tongue
very
out.
excited.
You did.
I mean, this is a cute story. Look, it's still got hair on it no matter when it's told. But this is almost an okay story today in 2023 when we know that they ended up getting married and they seem to be the great love of each other's lives and all that. It's almost okay now. They're not even an item here. They're just an item on a TV show. They're just two actors. I don't know. It's very weird.
And you didn't, Ashton. Just admit it.
Dad, I swear.
She's 14. She didn't. You stop it.
She would know that was not the first.
And like Rosie keeps saying she's 14. Stop it, Ashton. Why don't you? Like he seems to be completely oblivious to the idea that this isn't cute. But when you're Ashton Kutcher, when you're a good-looking guy, and I see this a lot with good-looking guys. Jimmy Fallon, you can kind of cute your way out of saying things that are terrible. You know, like he thinks that he's cute and charming enough to be able to talk about it, but it doesn't look
You had turned 15 by then.
No, she was 12, but I know it.
There's a big difference. That 1 year makes the whole world change.
All right, then. We're coming up
So 14's a problem, but 15
with the guy who has a name that should have been chased for show business. Wilmer Vanderama. I don't even know how to say it. And what's the point? Yeah, Danny will be here as well. Don't go away.
Danny the rapist will be here. I don't know if he's raping currently. Did he finish the Rosie O'Donnell show and then go off raping? Is that what Danny? There you have it. Anyway, there's stink all over that 70s show now. Good thing old Red ain't around to see it. He's dead, right? The guy who played Red. Red's dead. Is Red dead? Red's dead. Who else is dead? Tommy Chung? Was Tommy Chung? No, Mitch Hedberg. Mitch Hedberg's dead. He was on that show. All right, there we have it. I'm most troubled by the revelations that Topher Grace was not one of the group. That like Topher Grace was like, he thought they were jerks and they were mean to Topher Grace. Like they called him a nerd and a dork and all that stuff. Yeah. Topher Grace having a good day. Kirkwood Smith is not dead. That's Red. I just assume he's dead. He looked very unhealthy. In the rage issues, you know, Byron, you can forgive a guy. Let's see. What else do we have? Anything else? Guys, that's it. I think we're done with the show today. Yep, I wanted to end with those two. All right, let me see if there's anything big that's happening. Do 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 do. Apparently, the streets in Portugal are flooded with wine. Oh, that's kind of crazy. Actually, hey, why not show that? That seems like a legit story. Where's Twitter? Where's the X? There it is. Hold on. Hold up. Hey. All right, repost it. I got to repost it so I can shows it to you. All right, here we go. Check this out. So apparently this is like a town where they make wine, and they have these giant wine tanks, and the wine tanks broke. And now the streets are literally flooded with wine. Look at that. I wonder if it's good wine. That's so there you go. Meanwhile, in Portugal.
Aqui está. Epa, isto realmente.
How big
Aquilo que dia se esperava veio a acontecer.
What are we talking about here? A Merlot? What do we got
Vejam
here?
só,
It's
vejam.
darker,
Vejam como é que vai
right?
ficar o
Maybe,
Rio Vira. Vejam só.
definitely I'm thinking of Merlot, but boy, look at that's so dark. That could be a port. Look at how dark. Somebody's in trouble. Any wine dudes out there? You know what kind of wine that is? I'm not a wine dude. Wine gives me the heartburns. Don't like it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow. We've got more to get to. There's always news. There's always headlines. There's always stuff for me to just, sort of wax poetic about for 2 hours. Or in the case of today, 1 hour and 45 minutes? Something like that. All right. That's all right. Right? You forgive me. Got a lot to do today. I got to go do comedy homework. Yeah, I got comedy homework. Got to write some jokes. Not feeling real funny. Well, yeah, I'm telling you, you just sat through this. All right. See you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. High noon show, 12 p.m. Join me. I'll give you all the day's rundown, just like I did just now. And we'll see you then. Okay? Thank you. Check out the RadioMisfits.com, Radio Misfits podcast platform, and live streaming. 2 shows every day, except not really every day, because we only do the Radio Misfits show 3 times a week now. But you can find it all at RadioMisfits.com. Bye, everybody. Love you.
Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffled into small guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401, I don't have their greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.